Your thoughts on the BSP still deciding to take things slow, and what might that mean for a peso that's already at multi-year lows?
What we're seeing here now is that despite rising pressure from an accelerating Fed policy move, the central bank essentially stuck to its plan and raised the policy rate by, shall we say, a modest 25 bip hike. No? With that recent move, several things are getting clearer. No? One is that the BSP likely has not fully shifted their priorities from growth to managing inflation. No? So they're still trying to do that balancing act with growth taking the priority over inflation. And then we have, of course, something that's unraveling. There's a bias for a weak peso. So the peso is not the BSP's main consideration when hiking rates. It's mostly to support the nascent recovery, as well as likely rein in inflation that's within their control.
Okay, just for a better understanding here of our viewers, you did mention it's a careful balancing act between growth and managing inflation. And Medalla even has signaled that, saying, they cannot tighten too aggressively to avoid hurting the economy too much. To give our viewers a better understanding here, what's at stake here? Should the BSP be more aggressive?
I think they have to be aggressive at some point now because, as we heard it from the BSP themselves. So they're looking at inflation reaching 5%, averaging around 5.6 in the second half. No? So eventually that's going to cause some pain in terms of the consumption side. So what that means is household consumption could likely slow down and eventually affect overall GDP readings, so because that's 75% of the GDP. However, we do recognize the difficulty the BSP is finding themselves in right now. Inflation is mostly imported now, so that's essentially beyond their control. No? So what they can control, the local factors that we have, that's what they are doing right now. Now, this is essentially to sort of rein in price growth, and those emerging at the moment. Now you have a shortage in sugar, we have costlier rice production, we have wage hikes coming in. Also, those could be within the control of the BSP. And I think what they are seeing right now is that those secondary effects can still be managed by that modest 25 basis point hike until it doesn't. So if that time comes, that's when we expect them to likely step on the pedal a little bit more.
Okay. Sir, in fact, some economists have taken the words of Governor Diokno, which he mentioned something like, we will do whatever it takes. Diba? Some were even comparing him to Mario Draghi, that this is a little bit more hawkish than the 25 bips that actually occurred. So what is keeping them from being preemptive here? And you mentioned already, they already raised the inflation outlook. How much longer are they going to wait for the inflation to not be temporary before they start being preemptive? And to your view, is this not already warranted right now?
Well, it's a bit warranted at the moment. If we compare to where the U.S. Fed is pacing their rate hikes. But what we are seeing from the BSP right now is actually choosing between their twin mandate. So twin mandates are full employment and price stability. The BSP might have ignored calls for a more aggressive action to sway inflation in favor of growth recovery in the meantime. Incoming Governor Medalla himself has said so. This type of inflation might be impervious to monetary policy action. So as such, it seems that the choice by the monetary authorities at the moment is for full employment recovery. So that means that entails supporting growth. That's what it is doing right now. They're choosing that over price stability, which is beyond its control at the moment.
Okay. Sir, do you agree with some views that we do not necessarily need to keep in step with the Fed? So, especially market makers are saying mawawalan tayo ng foreign investors, especially hot money, if the peso is so weak and if the interest rates in the US are comparable to basically to what we have here. But on the other hand, some are saying that our issues with inflation and our issues with supply chain are very different from what the US is actually experiencing.
Well, it is different, no? And what we're seeing from the policy move versus what the Fed is doing. The Fed is prioritizing inflation over growth. They're trying to slow down the economy. Here, what we're doing is to jumpstart the economy, no? or support that recovery over inflation. No? But there is some debate on what the basis of the curve should be. No? The fact that inflation expectations are higher could be a basis, meaning if we say that the job of the BSP is to anchor inflation expectations, then given how expectations are now, no? We could say it's behind the curve. No? However, jump-starting policy normalization when they jump-started it last May, no? That's a way to catch up with the so-called curve. So I guess supporting growth recovery remains a top agenda, while inflation is a headwind. No?